What is
Yeah,
going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke's Opposition Views. We have got a Richmond supporter, James, mate from Twitter, who talks a lot of smack about the Pies. So I thought it'd be nice to have him on for a bit. James, how you going, mate?
yeah, I don't see about it yourself.
Yeah, look, not too bad, not too bad. I am gearing up for a huge game on Friday.
You and me both.
It's gonna be pretty exciting. We'll talk a little bit about it a bit later on. But what I kind of want to know is, how did you get started with Richmond? Did you start following them just in 2017, or was it was it well before that?
Nah, everyone in my family, you come out of the womb with a Richmond scarf on. If you don't support Richmond, well, you've got to find another family. So it's born into us. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's growing up, if you're born Richmond and stuff like that, growing up, Richmond really didn't have a lot of success early on, and it's kind of just sort of recent success. How was it growing up a Richmond supporter?
Was hard. Born in 1997, so too young to remember 2001 and knocking Carlton out in the semi-final of 2001, and then seen little to no success until 2013 when you start to believe that your team's finally good, and then you get absolutely nicked Digand by a team that's actually not even meant to be in the finals. And then you watch Cochin kick into a cyclone breeze, and then you watch Troy Chaplin try to sell candy to Robin Nahas in the goal square in 2015, and you think you're never going to see a winning final.
Yeah.
And then 2016 goes nowhere, and sure enough, 2017 comes around, and you don't really believe you're actually going to see a win until, well, I actually didn't believe I'd see a Richmond win a final till Trent Cotchin kicked a goal in the last quarter of the qualifying against Geelong, and we were 40 points up.
Bloody hell. Like, talk us through 2017 a little bit. Like you said, there was a lot of not a lot of success sort of growing up, and 2017 was one of those years. I don't think they really had Richmond sort of as favourites going into that year, or throughout that year at all, and it kind of came up out of nowhere. If my memory serves me right. That was the Adelaide Grand Final, wasn't it?
It was. So it was, my memory was, well, Richmond went five zip to start the year, and then everyone's like, oh, you shouldn't miss finals going five zip, and then you're like, oh no, I've seen Richmond do it too many times before. You get to the last game and you need to win it and you lose it, and then it's like, oh yeah, then come up against Adelaide in round 6, get belted, and everyone's like, oh no, same old Richmond. Then you lose the 3 games in a row by under a goal in the last minute, and you're like, everyone's like, yep, same old Richmond. They can't close out a close one. They just don't have the ticket to make finals. And then remember getting belted by St Kilda about round 15. St Kilda did us by 80 points or something stupid. And then, from then on, they just flicked the switch, didn't lose a game. And, they just, everyone's like, oh, worst top 14 to ever make finals, beat Geelong. And everyone's like, oh, what a waste of a prelim. They're going to get done anyway in the prelim. Beat GWS in the prelim. And then it was, what a waste. Adelaide's going to win the grand final. And then you win the granny and everyone's like, oh, Richmond are good.
Yeah. So what was that like? That sort of, ebb and flow season, I guess, coming from the perspective of Collingwood 2-0 at the moment, and I know this season is going to sort of ebb and flow, so I need some reassurance of how you felt throughout it.
2017 was always the feeling of when you go to the footy is, how will Richmond stuff this up, and then when will I finally be free to be able to believe that we're good?
Yeah.
And then you don't believe that until you're actually in finals and winning them. 2018 was different because it was, as soon as we won one flag, it was going to the footy in 2018. I was just, you walk to the game, you sit in your seat, and I just knew, I was just like, it doesn't matter what any team throws at us, by about halfway through the last quarter, we'll flick a switch, kick 5 goals and win.
Yeah.
And it was a very nice feeling to be able to go to the footy in 2018, just knowing your side will win. No stress. You can just go, whatever they throw at us, we'll be able to throw a punch better and get the 4 points. Something happened, but I forgot. So
something. I think, look, we won't talk about too much, but some sort of American sort of towered over the MCG or something like that. But that period of 2017 to 2020, was just, yeah, we saw an absolutely dominant Richmond. Look, I don't really have any qualms sort of against Richmond, which is nice. It's one less fan base that want to fight with me, which is pretty good for my mental health. But look, seeing you guys, I remember watching the 2017 grand final. Thought Adelaide were going to win. 2018, coming up against you guys in that preliminary final, that was a flip of a coin. And we all know what happened there. Talk about 2019 and then 2020 going back to back. What did you said that 2018 you could kind of sit back and say, like, how much are we going to win by now? Well, we know we're going to sort of flick a switch. 2019 and 2020 was a sort of different beast of Richmond. They kind of really hit their peak there.
2019 was all about learning from 2018. So it was like I sat through the whole 2018 prelim. Never leave a game early. It's just a rule I've always had. And it was always, look, we peaked too early. We were winning preseason games by 20 goals, winning games, and then just ran out of steam towards the end. And then 2019, you could see the narrative. It was, Rance goes down in round one. You get injuries. You lose to we must have lost I think we lost to North. Yeah, North sacked their coach. And then Reshaw won his first game as coach against Richmond. And you're just like, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, Richmond are done. Too many injuries. Just pack it up this year. They might fall into eighth or something and, miss the finals or, win one final. But, the era's over. And then it was after the bye, went 12 straight, didn't lose a game because we just got players back, peaked at the right time. So they learnt their lesson. It was, you don't need to play your best footy in June. You got to play your best footy in July, August, September.
Yeah.
And then, it was surreal. And then there was obviously being the worst one was the 2019 prelim when you're 20 points down at halftime against Geelong. And I said, I reckon that was the best punch Geelong had. Yeah. And I turned out to be right. But there was also the lingering down in the back of my head of, Sava Radicale is going to kick 5 or something. And we're going to bomb out in a prelim again. We're going to be that team that just can't get past a prelim and we're just going to have one flag to show for it.
Yeah.
And then had the nervous weight of making sure GWS beat Collingwood, so my passage to get a grand final ticket was a lot easier.
Yeah, I could only imagine. Talk us about you went to that grand final. Talk us a little bit about that. That would have been that game was over by quarter time if I remember correctly. So what's it like? I talked to Anna about the Geelong supporter about the Sydney game, the Sydney grand final. She said that she wasn't really comfortable until about 3/4 time when Sydney, even though the game was over pretty much at quarter time. And what was it like being in the stands with the 6 GWS fans that were there?
Well, funny enough, I actually had 2 behind me, so they were having the time of their life. It was odd. It was sort of like first quarter, Rioli kicks a goal on the quarter time siren, we're up by a point. You knew GWS would have to start well, which they did to an extent. They kicked the first goal, so it was a come from behind grand final win. They're rare. And then you move, and then I think remember saying at halftime, and even some of the players said in interviews after the game, they were just like, "Look, GWS has kicked 1 goal, we've kicked 6. Richmond's going to have to do a lot wrong to lose this." And then when you get halfway through the third, I think you're just like, all right, it's party time now, and then. The last quarter, it was just a celebration of all great things, Richmond.
Yeah,
which was the way you chose to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. I remember doing that in the 2010 Toronto Grand Final as well when we were up by 30, 40 points in that last quarter. You kind of take a moment to sit back and just appreciate it and not be on the edge of your seat and a nervous sort of wreck, which is really nice. And then of course you guys go back to back in 2020, the COVID affected years against Geelong in Gary Ablett's last game. How did you find that season and the lead up to that grand final?
Feel like going away was probably the best thing for Richmond. Like I remember before the hubs all started, you beat up on Carlton because it's Carlton's grand final for the year. It's the biggest game they ever play in for the year, so we always win that. Then you have the draw against Collingwood after like 2 months of no footy where it's like 30-30.
Yeah.
And then, we lose to Hawthorn round 3 and then they ship everyone off to Queensland. And, then, as they said, it was just good to keep having footy on, and you just sort of knew that the best system. I always felt like the best system would win.
Yep.
Like a team like Port or Geelong, they were going to go hard, and Brisbane in their home state, obviously, we're going to have to throw everything to try win it. And then losing the first final, I thought sort of in those times, it was probably the best thing for us.
Okay.
Because in hub life, all you wanted to do was probably playing footy was probably the break for them. So I was like, you probably want to keep playing. If you have a week off, you just get staying sitting in a resort at Gold Coast. So keep playing, keep momentum flowing, and then sure enough, beat Port in a classic, and then pretty much do the reverse on pretty much relive the 2019 prelim, except in the grand final in shortened quarters, come back from 20 points down and watch Dustin Martin cementing himself as the best player to ever kick a Sharon.
Yeah, bloody hell. Look, I kind of have to kind of agree with you there. He's phenomenal, and kind of just leads on to this game on Friday night. You guys drew that first game against Carlton in the first half. I've said it in a bunch of videos and on Twitter, was boring as hell. Put me to sleep in that first half. And you guys there was a bit of a show at halftime, after halftime, sorry. And then last week you played Adelaide. Bit of a ebbed and flowed that game as well, and they were coming back, and then you guys kicked away in that last quarter, and now you play the gallivanting Collingwood Magpies at the MCG in front of probably 85,000, if not more, and you've got no Broad, no Cotchard, no Broad, no Dustin Martin, no Short, Ivan Soldo's not playing, and there's another guy, no Hopper. Yeah. So what are your thoughts going into this game? Because it's always a good game, Collingwood Richmond. Doesn't matter who is in and out.
No, it's the team. The names on the paper don't matter because it's going to be system versus system. So it's system v system. So Richmond are just a plug and play. So one soldier's going to go out, another soldier's going to go in. Yes, that soldier's not going to be as good as Dustin Martin or Broad or Short, but they're just going to play the same role, just to obviously a lesser effect. But yeah, it's going to be tight. I reckon I'll be shocked if the game gets above a 20-point lead either way for the whole game. There'll just be 90,000 fans on the edge of their seat, and yeah, it'll be hard. Hardwick taught McRae everything McRae knows, but Hardwick didn't teach McRae everything that Hardwick knows about coaching.
Exactly. So, how did you find the first two rounds? How did you find Richmond are sort of playing and how they're building up this season?
Feel like they addressed their biggest need, which was they kept getting belted at clearance, and if Prestia wasn't playing, and unless Shea Bolton went bananas, we were never going to win a clearance.
Yep. With
Martin out as well. So address that with Taranto and Hopper. Obviously, Hopper not there now, but it allows now Martin, Bolton at full strength, obviously, to play half forward and pinch him when they need to. So feel like we've addressed our clearances, but for a forward line to have Lynch, Riewoldt, Cochin, Martin, Bolton, Rioli to not kick 8 goals against Carlton and then only kicked over 100 against Adelaide.
Yeah.
Forward line probably just needs a bit more synergy, but everywhere else we're stacking up pretty good. Our back line's been rock solid for years, which has always been good.
Yeah, which is a testament to Hardwick, the system, and yet you guys have been one of the best defensive teams for the last 4 or 5 years at least.
Yeah, the pressure game has obviously gone a little bit with no Castagna, Butler, Rioli now on half back, so you've only got sort of Morris, Jack Graham up there applying the frontal forward pressure. But yeah, the essences of our game from 2017 and the era are still there. It's just slightly changing as the game evolves.
So you're saying that you don't think there's going to be a big lead, a bigger lead than sort of 20 points either way. How do you actually see this sort of game playing out? You saw what Collingwood were able to do to Geelong, to Port Adelaide. We've kind of got that. You talked about how early on, 2017, 2018, 2019, Richmond sort of were this team that they could just flick a switch and sort of kick those goals. And we kind of sort of saw it against Adelaide last week. With the Pies, you're coming up against a sort of never say die attitude and pretty much just 23 Energizer bunnies running around the MCG. What do you think Richmond have to do to stop Collingwood's game?
It's pretty much a look at Back to the Future. You're sort of playing the way we played, with obviously given where half your coaching staff have come from.
Yeah.
But so they're going to come hard at us from the front. But if they miss or just a slightly bit off, obviously, as you know, Collingwood can get done slingshot out the back over the top. Like, you're coming at us 100 miles an hour. You can't turn around quickly at 100 miles an hour if you turn it over or stuff it up. That'll be where it is. The frontal pressure's got to be on. And you're just cutting down the weapons. Like, obviously, Nick Dacos, dead set free. Richmond don't tag, so they're not going to stop him getting 30. But you never know. The option I would have gone might have been a Jack Graham sort of one that can go with him if he goes to a centre bounce, because Graham is a midfielder or up forward. Or if you stand Shea Bolton next to him at centre bounces, Nick's a bit fearless, but it's probably not in the AFL coaching book to run off Shea Bolton inside your defensive 50 and leave him 40 metres out unattended if Richmond win the footy. And Collingwood don't. But yeah, obviously stop Cox going all 2018 prelim on us, and
that's all we want to see. So you think it's the sort of counter-attacking game, and we saw Geelong do it a number of times in round one against us. Our defense isn't airtight, and we do get, like you said, we go 100 miles an hour, and sometimes we do get caught on that overlap and on that sort of counter attack. But yeah, I think that this is just built up for the game of the round. Like we said, 85 to 90,000 people, MCG Friday night. It's absolutely nuts. Who do you think comes in for those 4 big outs?
Hopper, you're probably leaning at maybe a Jack Ross sort of type in there. I think maybe Hugo Ralph Smith to replace a bit of run from short. They might go tall again with Ben Miller, even though we got the 3 talls we have 4 talls of Nank, Samson Ryan, Lynch, and Rewalt.
Yeah.
Because whoever is on Billy Frampton is hopefully going to get isolated and kick 8.
Yeah. Well, that's what Anthony from Port Adelaide said last week, and Todd Marshall only ended up kicking 2. But continue.
Yeah, Todd Marshall's not Tom Lynch. Hard to say, really. They might blood another youngster. We've got a few out as well, like blokes like Sonzi, as a few of our younger blokes are out.
Yeah.
So it'd be hard to say who comes in. I dare say Ross will definitely be one. And then Mansell will come in off as a sub as well, so he'll be into the 22.
Yeah.
So we'll go with Miller, Ross, and Mansell in.
Too easy. All right, look, mate. What is your? Give me is your big call going to be that Lynch is going to kick, or Rewalt's going to kick 8 goals? Is that what you're going to go with?
Big call is, we'll go with Lynch for 7.
Okay, and what's your
again?
Again? Yeah, we all know that all too well. What's your winning margin there?
Richmond by 14 points.
All right, I got the Pies by 34 points, and my big call is that Tom Lynch is not going to kick more than 2 goals on my big boy Billy Frampton, mate.
May the best team win, Sweeper.
May the best team win. Look, James, thank you so much for jumping on. I appreciate it. We have a bunch of back and forth on Twitter and stuff, and I really appreciate you jumping on, taking your time, and look, good luck, but not enough luck to make you win on the weekend.
No, doesn't matter around 3.
See you, mate.
See you, mate.
Bye.